Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. My name is Scott Haskin and I am your host on this podcast. It's fan-based, but it's band-endorsed. How cool is that? So we are on the bonus tracks now for season 4, which is covering the Demons and Wizards album. And we have a song today called Proud Words on a Dusty Shelf. While this did not make it onto a Uriah Heep official album, it did make it onto a Ken Hensley album, simply titled Proud Words, and the album is Proud Words on a Dusty Shelf. Go figure. So we are listening to the original Uriah Heep recording of it. Obviously, was not pursued by Heep itself, and Ken liked the song, so he put it on his own album. It's a great song. It's a short song, so we're going to have a shorter episode for you today. But being that it is Monday, what do we do on Mondays? We do all of our gratitude posts, or announcements, I should say, because when you're saying them verbally, it's not a post, unless you're voice texting. But I'm not. So a couple of things to let you guys know about. If you haven't already checked it out, Phil Lanzon, the keyboard player for Uriah Heep, has his second book in the Evil with a Thousand Faces trilogy. The book is called Snowdrop Diamonds, and it is available for pre-order. You can check the link in the show notes. And I am really curious to see how his mind works as a writer of a story versus a writer of music. That should be interesting. And he's done a couple of really cool videos on the Uriah Heep YouTube channel as well about songwriting and that. So check those out. They're really cool. Also, if you haven't checked out the channel in a while, Mick's done quite a number of Ask Mick episodes. They're really fascinating. The questions are really random because they're just people writing in whatever's on their mind. And there's some really good stuff in there. Some of them, of course, that are more song related. I'll reference when we get to those songs, as I've done in the past up to this point. The weird thing is going to be if somebody writes in a question about a song I've already covered, because I can't really go back and reference that, but maybe I'll add it to the show notes or something. The other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to say thank you to my friend who wrote in to correct me on Rainbow Demon. So I had a bit of a curiosity with the lyrics because I had them wrong. The funny thing was, I had them transcribed properly, but when I was listening to the song, I heard them the way I originally thought it was in my head, which was wrong, and why I commented on it. So the opening line is not, "Here lies the rainbow demon," as if you're reading a tombstone. It's, "There rides the rainbow demon," which makes so much more sense. Sorry, you guys. Thank you for the correction. Very helpful. I'm not above admitting when I'm wrong, and I was wrong. The funny thing is I had it right. I just remembered it wrong. So, that's how it happens when things, how strong of a first impression sometimes things have on you, where even though you've been corrected, you still hear it the way that you heard it originally. I will probably make that mistake again at some point, but hopefully I'll catch it and then just kind of rewrite those lyrics in my head so that I have them with me all the time. Now, very important, I want to thank everybody who has shared. You guys are great about every time I post an episode, there's a bunch of shares, and whether that's on the Uriah Heep fan page or the official Uriah Heep page that Dave White posts for me, or the Uriah Heep podcast Facebook page. Also, you guys are great about liking the photos and stuff that I use to represent the episodes on Instagram. I get some feedback on Twitter, not as much as I do on Facebook right now, which is fine as long as you guys are connecting with it and enjoying the show. That's what it really is all about. And so I want to thank you guys for that. I want to thank you guys for all the downloads and the listens. The numbers are growing quickly, and that really means a lot to me. It means that you guys are enjoying what I'm doing. I want to thank everybody who's reached out to me personally and left comments in the inbox about the show and what it means to you, and what a certain song or two means to you. That always makes me smile, and it just shows that the effort that I'm putting into this is worth it because you guys are getting something out of it. So thank you for all the shares. Also, we don't have any new reviews on Apple Podcasts or iTunes to read today, but I do want to thank everybody who has left comments on the Podbean app. That's the other place that I see them because they are the distributor of the show. And just amazing stuff. So, all this time that I put into it, it's time I could be trading for anything else. But I'm glad that for two reasons, because one, I enjoy doing it. And two, you guys are obviously connecting with the episodes and, reminiscing about the songs, finding out things that you may not have heard in the song before, but also just enjoying them, and hearing a different perspective. And you guys seem to like that. You seem to like when I break up a show into, a longer show into smaller bites. That seems to work with you guys because a lot of you listen on your commutes, when you're out, exercising, doing your morning jog, what have you. So I'm just going to keep doing that because it seems to be a very positive thing. And speaking of very positive things, I want to thank everyone who has signed up for the Patreon account. If you are interested in signing up to get those perks as they start rolling out, you can go to scotthaskin.com, click on the Uriah Heep podcast page, go to the bottom and click the link for Patreon. There's a button there. And our patrons at the $3 tier are Peter Voss, Goran Eriksson, and Frank Thielgaard Mortensen. Thank you guys very, very much. And at the $1 tier, we have the No Need for Lung Capacity Airtight Gravesite. Thank you very much for your donations. It really helps a lot. And I think I'm going to start getting the contests going in February, probably, as things settle down for me a little bit, and I can work on managing that a little more. We did have a winner to the Demons and Wizards Easy Living contest, and that CD got sent out. Very, very cool stuff. I also want to make a special thank you to our friend of the show, Frank Puck. I hope I'm saying that right, Frank, who made a $15 donation via the PayPal button that is right underneath the Patreon button at scotthaskin.com, and click the Uriah Heep podcast link. That is really cool. You can do recurring donations there, just like you can Patreon. You can also just do a one-time donation there if you like, or whenever you feel like throwing a couple of ducats at the show. It really does help because, show costs. So thank you guys all very, very much. It really does mean a lot to me. And, along those lines, the PayPal button apparently was having some problems. They changed their configuration at PayPal, and the button that I created no longer worked. I didn't get any kind of notification, so I didn't know that was down. But I was able to get a new one up very, very quickly. And, thank you to PayPal and Patreon for providing these great services that allow that kind of community support as well. It's very important. Every cog in the machine makes the machine work. So, thank you to my website. Thank you the host of the website. Thank you to the host of the show, Podbean. Every bit matters that helps me bring the show to you guys. So speaking of people to thank, my graphic artist, Scott Lazinski, great job on the logo. People were just commenting today on Twitter how great it looks. And also to my friends at Audionamics. Guys, I will not do a podcast without their product, Instant Dialogue Cleaner. It takes me like 2 seconds to check it and let it run. And it just does such an amazing job since I live right by the airport. And I live in an apartment where there's children playing, dogs barking. The birds seem to have a huge party in the tree every Friday night during the spring and summer. So it's a great product for me to have. Anybody who's thinking about doing a podcast or has any dialogue they need to clean, I would highly recommend it. You can go to audionamics.com and check that out. Dave White, Dave, dude, you rock. Thank you for all the shares, all the support. Love every bit of it, man. You've really made me feel like part of the family, and I appreciate that. Also, like I said, everyone who has shared the show, very, very big, because that's what helps me get the word out. And as I look at the number of listeners growing per episode, it shows that it's really helping. So thank you guys. Now, I sound a little thin. It's actually quite late at night, but I don't think I've said but 2 words all day today. I got to get better at that. I got to use my voice more during the day, but I didn't really have any emails or text to send. I usually try to do, voice activated stuff to kind of keep my voice going, but it does dry up quick. So I'd be curious if there's any singers out there that are, you're used to singing shows nightly, weekly, whatever it is. What are you guys doing during this lockdown to keep your voices up to snuff? As musicians, I can practice drums every day. I can work on my writing skills or playing keyboard. But what are you guys as vocalists doing? I don't sing anymore. So I'd be curious to know what your strategies are, because especially, like in bands that tour, if you guys are used to doing an hour and a half, 2-hour set a night, that's a lot you're not doing. And so unless you're giving full concerts every day in your homes, what are you doing to keep your voices up? As you can tell with me on a daily basis, I don't do enough exercising of my vocal cords. So, as not to be in a big lecture, but as I go on, I want to thank my brothers at the Deep Dive Podcast Network. First off, of course, Nate and John over at the Deep Purple Podcast. I had John on the show as a guest for the Easy Living episode. He had a lot of great feedback on it, a lot of great insight. Nate also will be coming on the show here to do a song before too much longer. And if you guys missed it, last week I was a guest on the Deep Purple Podcast talking about the crossovers between Deep Purple and Uriah Heep. And there are a great many of them. So if you go down to the show notes and you scroll down to the Deep Dive Podcast Network section, we have the link to their website. You can go there and you can stream it. It was episode number 91. And I had a lot of fun. My third time on the show. They must like me enough to have me back. So really enjoy anytime I get to hang out with those guys. They're fantastic. And they also have some merch, some T-shirts and coffee mugs and that. I have a coffee mug. It's a great, very sturdy, quality merchandise. And if you guys are interested in those too, for the Uriah Heep podcast, I can have some done. I have done a few already. But if you're interested in those or T-shirts, just send me an email over at uriahheeppodcast@gmail.com, or go to the website and click the link there. And then you can reach out to me and let me know if you guys are interested in that. I can start creating a little bit of merch for you to help support the show. Nate and John were a lot of fun. That show was good. So check it out, episode number 91. I also want to, send some shout outs to my other brothers at the Deep Dive Podcast Network. Simple Man at Skinnerd Reconsidered. Really looking forward to some more episodes when you get ready to start your next season. Also, Terry T-Bone Mathley at T-Bone's Prime Cuts on the Other Side. Great new show that he's just started, an episode in already. It was fantastic. Link is in the show notes to all these shows. Rye at Sabbath Bloody Podcast, great guy. He's gone through every Black Sabbath song, and he's now on to Ozzy Osbourne. So that show goes on. And of course, Paul, Joe, and David at the Lap of the Pods, the Queen Podcast. A lot of fun, really great insight into Queen. I don't know much about Queen, so everything I know, I've learned like 90% just listening to those guys. Also, you guys should also, that's really good. I like to say that word apparently. You could check out gottahear'emall.com, which is a website that has very, very well researched information about events, mostly live stuff, but some other events surrounding the bands Emerson, Lake and Palmer / Emerson, Lake and Powell and Deep Purple. Great stuff over there. And if you want some really good professional insight into the music industry, the band's manager, Ace, has his own show, Ace on Music, which you can find on Stitcher and YouTube. That usually comes out on Thursdays. He also manages other bands like Leonard Skinner and some others. Really, really great stuff. And very well spoken, great insight into the business. And so check that out when you have some time. Now, before we get into the song, if you aren't already, follow the show. And you can do that at scotthaskin.com/Uriah Heep Podcast. Just click the Uriah Heep Podcast link instead of typing all that in. On Facebook, you can find us at Uriah Heep Podcast, all one word. Twitter, we are at Heep Podcast. Instagram, Uriah Heep Podcast. And the show email, of course, is uriahheeppodcast@gmail.com. All right, that's all the stuff. Now let's get into the song. Here it is, Proud Words on a Dusty Shelf. Kind of like my voice today. This is a fun, cheerful, happy little tune to me. It just has a, Hey, gather round. I'm going to tell you a story, kind of feel to it. Really simple riff, but very catchy. Sound is fantastic. It does sound different than the rest of the songs on Demons and Wizards. Just the overall tonality to it is different. Not from a writing standpoint. I'm talking from, like a sonic perspective. It definitely sounds like it was mixed at a different time. And you can hear the same thing when we get to the other bonus tracks. Definitely right off the bat would say this would not have fit in with the rest of the songs on Demons and Wizards. But if it had been on the album and you just got used to it, you wouldn't think any differently probably. But it just has a completely different vibe from the rest of the album. So I can see why even up to this point, 13 seconds in, I can see why it wasn't included. But that doesn't mean it's not a great song. It just meant that it didn't have a place on that particular album.
Stand up and fight, or you'll lose your right. Do you wanna stand in a line, fighting hard to hold on to your mind? Seek and you'll find, help words on a dusty shell. Find and you'll seek, just keep on helping yourself. When the wind of trouble comes, put away your battle drums and stand up and fight. Stand up and fight. Don't stand in a line. Hold on to your mind.
Of course, we have a very powerful, passionate, straightforward vocal from David Byron on this. No harmonies or anything at this point, just a really good, strong, gather round kids, I'm going to tell you how it's going to be. And, the music is just very straightforward and supportive, not a lot of adventuring except on bass, of course. But it keeps things moving a little bit. Nice, good mid-tempo song. Not much to say about it, really. It's just pretty straightforward.
Seek and you'll find, help words on a dusty shell. Find and you'll seek, keep on keeping on helping yourself. When the wind of trouble comes, put away your battle drums and stand up and fight. Stand up and fight. Don't stand in a line. Hold on to your mind.
Love, after the verse when the first change comes in, it's a really unexpected but very nice change. I like where they went with that, and because of that, something just dawned on me that hasn't in the past when I've listened to this song. And I'm about to make the weirdest comparison that's probably ever been made to a Uriah Heep song. Think of the weirdest thing that I could possibly compare it to musically, and then double the weirdness. I don't know how you would do that. It just sounded cool. But it reminds me of a song called Attitude by the Misfits. Now, that song, as I recall, it didn't come out on any of the albums or CDs that I had from the Misfits. It was on like one of those special like 3-song LPs that they cut. And then I think it came out on one of the collections. But I got it when I got the box set because there was a bunch of stuff in the box set that I had never heard before. And it has a similar change up in it. And so for some reason, it just this time listening to it, it reminded me of that song. So, you can think I'm weird. You can say that's the most insane thing I've ever heard. And that's fine because, as you guys know with this show, it's just about what I hear and what I feel in the moment. And it reminds me of that song. So I don't know specifically if the Misfits were inspired by Uriah Heep, but you never know.
Stand up and fight. Stand up and fight. Stand up and fight. Stand up and fight. Stand up and fight.
Well, now I'm all charged up and I have nothing to rebel against. I'm just sitting here doing a podcast. But yeah, it's a fun song. It's really short. Again, no solo. I don't know if that was, an early development version of the song. And who knows? But in any case, the guitar was really strong sounding on it. The bass was, and the drums were. There was some piano in the background. It wasn't really apparent. You could just hear little snippets of it here and there, but there was no organ or anything. So Ken must have just been playing piano. Maybe he played a second guitar in it. I'm not sure, because I did hear some things in there that sounded like perhaps there was a second guitar. But yeah, it's just a very simple song. It's a cool groove. Obviously, it's one of those, don't take any shit kind of songs. And yeah, I can see, like I said, I could see why it wasn't released on Demons and Wizards. If you guys think it would have fit in, let me know. But I really can't see it. But I think it's a song that, they could have pursued later. And since they didn't, I'm glad that Ken did. He's got a nice version of it on the album Proud Words on a Dusty Shelf, along with some of my other favorites from time to time. Cold Autumn Sunday, there's a version of Rain on there. Really nice stuff. And I understand that Ken's last album will be coming out soon. Looking forward to getting a copy of that. I will probably, actually, I'm going to be doing a review of it. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing it. He was very excited to get it out there to the world when I spoke with him. And I'm glad that that's not being held up by any red tape or anything. It's actually going to make it out here fairly soon, as is Lee Kerslake's album. So those will be, a little bit difficult perhaps to listen to from a certain perspective. But at the same point, you love the guys, you love their work, and it's going to be exciting to hear what they were working on. So that's it, guys, for this show. Happy Monday. Whether you're listening to this in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, I hope your Monday is fantastic. We will be back tomorrow with another show. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!